Hello and welcome to the Soul Garden. I'm Georgina Langdale and I'm delighted to have you here with me today. This week in the Soul Garden, I am all filled up with emptiness. All filled up with emptiness. Emptiness has been a topic on my mind in recent times. I've been thinking about things like empty vessels, empty rooms, silence, the absence of things. And I thought it might be just quite nice to reflect on it all today. And this reflection is going to be shaped by a beautiful book by a beautiful human being. And the book is The Eloquence of Silence, Surprising Wisdom in Tales of Emptiness. And it is by the wonderful Thomas More, who is really, truly one of our dear and cherished wise elders. Thomas is a psychotherapist. He was a monk. He's a wonderful musician, and he is just wise, and funny, and very, very clever. And this book of his, The Eloquence of Silence, was published last year, and I've been meaning to share my thoughts on it. You may know Thomas More's name very well. You may recognize it from his best-selling book from some years ago, The Care of the Soul. If you're a bit of a Marsilio Ficino fan like me, you might recognize his name for his book, The Planets Within, which is a wonderful meditation on Marsilio Ficino. And this book, The Eloquence of Silence, is a beautiful homage to emptiness. And it's available in all the usual places online and things, so I recommend that if you haven't picked up a copy of it, pick it up. I'm going to read the back cover, the dust cover thing, just to share a précis of it with you. Embracing emptiness, staying open, and finding calm. With compassion and insight, Thomas More offers a compelling case for an easier, lighter way of moving through life by experiencing the peace, calm, and openness of emptiness. Through ancient and modern stories, More gently shows us that our constant multitasking may not be getting us anywhere, and that emptiness is not a lack, but an invitation that can be our greatest teacher. A daily awareness and appreciation of the quiet spaciousness in our world and our own lives isn't a retreat from reality, but it's a rich and full welcome to all that is most meaningful and real. So true. And so to start off now, I want us to just take a moment to find that emptiness within. So if you're sitting comfortably, close your eyes and start to focus in on your breath. And I invite you to take 3 beautiful, long, deep in-breaths and out-breaths. Pay particular attention to the emptiness, the space between that in-breath and the out-breath. Here we go. Breathing in. Really holding that space and breathing out. We'll do one more time. There is a kind of infinity, isn't there, to that emptiness between the in and the out breath. And when we're stressed, when we can't sleep, when we've got triggered and angry by something and we're trying to find calm again, go to that space between the breaths in and the breath out. Find that emptiness. Thomas starts off his book with a poem by Dao De Ching, and it goes like this. A wheel's hub may have 30 spokes, but it is the hole in the center that makes it go. Work clay into a pot, and it is the emptiness in it that makes it useful. Cut out doors and windows for a room, and it is these holes that make the room livable. You get something from what is present, but you really benefit from what is absent. And in this beautiful book of Thomas's, he gives us a whole variety of ways to think about the beauty and the power and the gift of emptiness. When I read this book, there were moments when I really thought of Thomas and his study, writing this book, as such a gift for us all, and really helpful for those of us who work in fields like end-of-life care and coaching and counselling and expressive arts therapy and all of those places of human interaction at a very deep and soulful level. He gives us that pause between breaths. I almost had tears in my eyes in this passage that he wrote in the chapter called We Are Left as Traces. As I write this, I am 80 years old. I hope to leave traces of my reflections on human life in a slew of books and in the passing thoughts of students and friends. In my view, we are drifting, smoky shapes that add the tiniest element to human perfection. Yet those microscopic additions are of the greatest value in moving humanity along the path of its maturing. Small is beautiful, and tiny is precious. These beautiful, precious words of Thomas's. Thomas, thank you so much for this book. It makes me think about the bringing in and the letting go of things. I just went next door to my neighbour's house and they're preparing it to sell it. And there was talk about all the things, shoved in cupboards, kept there, not used, not seen, not touched, no longer even needed, but just, filling up space. And they were talking about this process of emptying the cupboards and creating the space. And I asked them how that felt, and they said, I feel lighter. It made me reflect also. I feel like I'm going through a bit of a metamorphosis at the moment. I've always written and I've always painted and done art, but I've always said, one day, after I've done this job or this work or this and this and this, then I will write and paint. And what I'm noticing now, here, me in my mid-late 50s, is I am starting to let go of things, to clear out those cupboards of junk, metaphorically and literally, to enable the space to be created for my creative life to take root and to blossom. And it feels really good, but I'm really realizing to do this, I need to let go of things. When we get to certain points in our life, certain transitions, an awareness comes of a phase ending and a new phase beginning. And it's a beautiful time to create space and emptiness. You might fill that emptiness up pretty soon with, stuff. That's okay. But the process of letting go and emptying things out is really, really healthy and good, I think. Another example of this is, we unwittingly carry so much stuff with us in our life that has been handed down through generations, our parents' parents and onwards. And last year sometime, part of my letting go of things, making space for this gradual creative blossoming to occur, was to become really conscious of the things that I was holding that weren't mine to hold on to. The intergenerational wounds and stories that are handed down. So I really sat down and I thought, which of these stories are truly mine, and which are the stories that I've been handed, and which of the stories handed to me are ones that serve me and which are the ones that don't. And then I created a ceremony for myself to name and release the stories that weren't serving me. So I did this with respect for my forebears, for those, my parents and the ancestors before me. But I said, these are not my stories to hold, and so with respect, I'm releasing them. And then I said, but these stories you have given me can serve me beautifully. Stories of creativity and spirituality and love and generosity. These I would like to carry through into this next phase with me. And I think I used a water ritual of, with each letting go, I cleansed myself. I think I submerged myself in a bath, beautiful warm water and scented with essential oils. And then I welcomed the good things in. But in between that letting go of the stories that didn't serve me, the intergenerational things handed down, and welcoming the good things handed down, I paused. I paused so I could reflect on the act of letting things go. And I paused as I prepared to welcome things in. And then I paused to create the final act of that ceremony, which is saying, and now here I stand, with these things handed down through lineage and my own stories that I wish to tell. It was very empowering. And I'm just recounting this because maybe it could be something that you may have done similar. I'd love to know. Or maybe it's something that can help. In my work I do with clients, with coaching is a funny word, isn't it? I'm now starting to move more towards the word mentoring. I think that mentoring, I don't know, I'd love to know what you think about this too. Mentoring to me has a gentleness about it and a generosity. Mentoring feels to me like walking side by side, helping someone be themselves. This whole wording around how we walk with people is so, I don't know, nuanced, isn't it? A friend of mine who is the most wonderful executive leadership coach said to me, well, but mentoring means that you're offering out advice. She thought of it more as walking ahead of someone than beside them. And I can really see that. So then I started thinking, why don't I like the word coach? And I realized, after much navel-gazing and picking of lint, that I am really hopeless at sports, never been a strong point in my skill set. So to me, coach actually brought up negative connotations around sport, around competition, need to win, have to be the best. I wasn't feeling coaching as a bringing out the best in you. I was being triggered into anxiety around performance as the coach, performance as the coachee, that everybody has to perform. Whereas mentoring felt, I keep coming back, gentle and like a wise old owl sitting in a tree. So for coaches who've listened to me going on about mentoring and go, what? That's not walking alongside. I guess this is how I feel. So onwards we go. One of the techniques I've been finding kind of helpful is creating the idea of an empty vessel. So in that poem I read earlier, there was this reference to working with clay. You create the vessel. It's its emptiness that gives it usefulness. Imagine that you are a beautiful clay vessel. And that vessel is earthy, terracotta-y, might be glazed with beautiful colours. And it's got this beautiful, rounded form that you just love to feel under your fingertips and the palms of your hands. You are this empty vessel. What is it that you wish to fill this vessel with? If you were an empty vessel, what would you like to fill this vessel with? So we would do this together, and it might be the topic that we wish to work on in our time together. So sometimes it may be love. What does love mean? How does love show itself? How do you show love in this world? It could be creativity. What are the forms and a creative expression you wish to fill this vessel with? What do they look like? What do they feel like? What are the materials you will reach for? Maybe you want to fill it with compassion. Maybe someone you know is suffering. We know the world is suffering. There are so many people in so many places at this moment in time, deeply suffering. What would you fill this vessel with for them? Peace, loving kindness, all of these sorts of things. Another way I've worked with this empty vessel is imagining that maybe the vessel had this sense of the cosmos within it, and you reach in and you pull something out. What is it that you've pulled out to examine more closely? Is it your sense and definition of what spirituality means to you? Is it something to do with how you see yourself in this world? These can be powerful, powerful prompts. And this vessel feels all the time safe and offers you a chance to explore the form and the formlessness within. I think that another really beautiful time to think about emptiness and the letting go of things and the bringing in of things, and of, as Thomas writes about in his book, the idea of forgetfulness. What is ready just to be forgotten now? And for me, one of the transitions that is really beautiful to work with in this idea of emptiness is menopause. And I say this because so much of the messaging that society gives women is around youth and youthfulness and, young, youthful beauty and fecundity and all of that sort of thing. And when we hit menopause, our body is telling us through the things that it's doing as our hormone levels are shifting that we are moving into a very new and distinct phase of life. We are not the fertile young woman anymore. So working with the pause, I kind of think of the menopause transition, perimenopause, really thinking about it as a liminal space between our fertility years and what I like to think of as our wisdom years. Emptiness is liminal space. So what happens if we start to use that idea within our own life cycle? What happens as one progresses through the menopause transition? One uses it as a chance to feel emptiness, to rest in that pause between the fertility years and the wisdom years. What it does is it creates a space for us to then think about, what are my beliefs about me and who I am that I want to keep, and what are the ones I want to let go of? What are the ones I want to let go of, and what are the things I want to bring in? Can be so powerful. I've worked with clients looking at that liminal space that is the perimenopause-menopause transition and finding opportunities to rest in emptiness, to be able to reflect on the things to forget and let go of and the things to welcome in. Thomas's book is about emptiness and it's about silence. And, in this busy world, we seem to fill every moment with something, with some sound or other. You don't need me to tell you. You know what it's like. We just feel there's just stuff all around us. What about silence? And for many people, the most uncomfortable part of being in conversation with somebody else are those moments of silence. But often, silence can be the best and most loving and compassionate thing you can offer someone else. sometimes simply your presence, meeting their presence, is enough. No need for words, no need for noise, just empty silence. I've really experienced this profoundly with people as they are nearing death. When a point is reached where words are gone, there's no strength for words anymore. They're sort of peeling away like layers of a life. And in those times, sometimes just sitting and being present with that person as they are in those final stages of life and in those moments after death. Silence is a beautiful, beautiful gift. Energy does not need words to be communicated from one to another. If you fill the room like an empty vessel with your loving energy, no words, that can be enough. And so if you are in tender, emotional, painful situations like that, no words can be enough. Filling the vessel just with the simple, unspoken truth of loving kindness and energy is enough. Bill Plotkin, who's the author of all sorts of things like Soulcraft and The Journey of Soul Initiation, he said of Thomas's book that it is a crystalline conjuring of uncluttered consciousness, a compellingly lucid and often funny meditation on unsuspected portals to magic and freedom. Emptiness and silence can give us magic and freedom. They create room for them to fill the space. Ultimately, though, I think that Thomas More's book, The Eloquence of Silence, Surprising Wisdom and Tales of Emptiness, is so beautifully full. It's so beautifully full of wisdom stories and reflections. And you can really feel the emptiness, the spaciousness created by a full stop or a comma or a new paragraph. And in all of those paragraphs, Thomas gives us beautiful, empty gems. Thank you so much, Thomas, for writing this book and all of your other ones. So that's it for me today in the Soul Garden. I have to just say that during the recording of this episode, my husband sent me a text message saying that lunch was ready. Aren't I lucky? Anyway, I went and sat out with him on the front porch. It's very warm here at the moment. And we sat there with the dog and we were eating our lunch. And he said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I said, "I'm recording this episode of my podcast." And he said, "What's it about?" And I said, "It's about emptiness." And then he asked me some other question about it. And I looked at him and I went completely blank. And then I said to him, "That's so funny. I'm recording an episode about emptiness and silence. And you asked me a question, and I couldn't think of a single thing to say." Anyway, that's it from me today. I'm Georgina Langdale. You've been listening to The Soul Garden. I'm delighted to have you here. And if you're interested in booking a session with me for mentoring, you can find my booking diary thing at georginalangdale.com. So until next week, please take really good care of yourself and enjoy those sacred moments of silence. Bye.